Hey, all right, seventh grade. Today we're going to be looking at percent proportion. You can find these problems on pages 47 through 50 in your book. We're actually going to take some notes first of all before we start on page 47. So if you turn to page 47, at the top it says to find percent, use a proportion. Using a proportion, use this. So if you notice the wording here, if you see this word is, you're referring to the part, okay? So not the whole, just part of it. If you see the word of, you're most likely talking about the whole, over 100. So part, the X represents the part over the whole, okay? So when we set up these problems, remember that is relates to the part and of the whole. Well, what percent, number one, this is an example, what percent of 5 is 4? Well, I know that of 5, there I see the word of again, okay? So of is the whole. So we know that we're going to put that on the bottom like it is up here, okay? So 5 is our whole. Is 4. Is, again, there's that word is, so that's going to go on the top. Equals X over 100 because we're trying to find the percent. And if you recall, percent means something out of 100, right? So we're trying to find what percent is 4 of 5. So then, you guys have done a lot of this over the last little while, but we are just going to, if you want to call it the butterfly method, whatever you want to do it, we're going to cross multiply. We know that 5 times x is 5x is equal to 4 times 100 is 400. And sorry for that sloppy handwriting. So now we know that we need to get our x by itself, so we would divide by 5, divide by 5. And x will go into 400, or excuse me, x will equal 400 divided by 5, which is, if you know this, you know that 5 will go to 48 times and then add the 0, so 80. So our answer is 80%. So 4 out of 5 is like 80%, and I guess we should include our percent symbol there in our answer. Okay? Going on to our next one. Number 2, it says, what number is 80% of 5? Now I'm going to kind of change my color. Of 5. So here we have our whole, and we know that that's going to go on the bottom, right? And then we have our percent. It tells us this is our percent. We can see that percent sign right there. So we know our percent is 80 out of 100, right? So we're kind of taking the pieces that they're giving us here and plugging them into some kind of proportion, okay? But we don't know what number out of 5 is 80% or 80 out of 100. Anytime you see that percent sign, you know you can write a fraction, right? So I know already because, well, first of all, we just solved a problem that kind of will help us with this. I know that to get from 5 to 100, we multiply by 20, so something times 20 is 80. So we know that that's 4, or we could divide by 20. 100 divided by 20 is 5, 80 divided by 20 is 4. You could also still, if we didn't know this number, cross multiply. So we would do 100 times x is 100x equals 80 times 5 is 400, and then divide by 100, divide by 100, so x is equal to 4. Okay, that means 4 is 80% of 5. Okay, so we're kind of taking the same problem and just kind of looking at it from different angles. We're finding the percent on one, we're finding the part on another, and the whole on the other. So we know that 4, and of course we already know this. So in the next one, 4 is. So is the part, right? So that's going to go on the top. We don't know what number it's 80% of, so we're going to put an X there. But we know we have the percent here is equal to 80 over 100. Okay, so then again, we could follow the same procedure. We've done this enough to know that that number x is going to be 5, but we could cross multiply and have 80x, is equal to 400, then divide by 80, and we have x is equal to 5. Now hopefully 4/5 is a benchmark fraction that you already know it's 80%, 4 is 80% of 5. But we've gone from, I'll go back here, what percent of 5 is 4, what number is 80% of 5, and 4 is 80% of what number. So we've just kind of rearranged and placed them in different orders in the number sentences. So finding the percent, finding the part, finding the whole, given each of those parts. Okay, we're going to go on to the next slide. This is homework. So I think this is found on page 49. So if you turn to page 49, you can locate these problems there. So we're going to kind of take the information that we have and we set it up as a proportion and cross multiply. So I know right off the bat I can set that up as 55 over 100, right? And we're going to set it equal to, now I've just got to decide what goes on the top and what goes on the bottom. I know that of, there's that keyword of, is our total. So we're going to put that on the bottom. That's our whole, in other words. We are trying to find the part. Okay, we have our percent. We have our whole. Now we need our part. So that's pretty much what you're doing with each of these problems. If you're lacking one, if you're given the percent and the whole, you find the part. If you're given the part and the percent, you're given the whole. If you're given your part and your whole, you find a percent. So it's kind of, you're just looking for each one of those, but look at the information you have first. So we could cross multiply then. We have 100x is equal to 55 times 140, and I'm going to just quickly do that in my trusty calculator, and I get 7,700. And I'm going to divide by 100. Divide by 100. So we know we're just pretty much going to cut off some of those zeros, right? Cancel those zeros out. And we have the answer of 77. Okay. All right, let's go to number 3 and try number 3. We have the percent, so let's set up the percent. I'm going to kind of go, so 37%, right, is equal to, so again, we have our whole of 100. If it said is, we know that that's our part. So we have 150 on the bottom as our whole, and we're solving for x. We would cross multiply. So we would have 100, go back. That was not good. So we have 100x is equal to, sorry, I'm going to just do this on my calculator. 150 times 37 is equal to 5,550. We divide by 100, and we get 55.5. We're just moving our decimal places over twice. So I apologize. I need to rewrite this, 55.5. So x will equal 55.5. So what does that mean in the context of this problem? 37% is 55.5, or if we, and it looks like we're dealing with a money amount, so we would change that to a money amount, and it would be $55.50. So that's what I would probably write, is 55.50. Okay. Apologize for my pen, it's not working the greatest today. We're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Erase this here, and we're going to, it says to find each number up at the top. We're going to skip down to number 17. Round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Now we need to be careful on these ones because our percents look a little different. It's not 5 over It's 5/6%. So that means we're setting it up like this. 5/6%, that means we're doing that over 100, right? Because it's percent out of 100 of 600. We know that's our total. Okay, so then what we're trying to find is, what is 5/6% of 600? So that's when we're going to set it up again as a proportion and cross multiply. So we have 100x, and I'm going to kind of write this up here, okay? 100x is equal to 5/6 times 600. Now I just know that using my calculator is usually the easiest in this kind of situation, but we can always enter it on our calculator. 5/ABC6 times 100, or 600 equals 500. So 5/6 times 600 is 500. And then we can just divide by 100, and we know those cancel out, so x is going to be equal to 5. Okay, so that is how you do that one. On number 19, I'll just tell you this. When you set that up, it's 1,000%. That means it's 1,000 out of 100. So we're going to just set that up the way that we say it. 1,000 over 100. Okay, equals of, now we remember, of means whole, so that goes on the bottom, 87, and we need to find our answer. So I'm going to erase this up here so that we have some room to work. I'm just going to erase all of that. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. 87 times 1,000. Well, essentially we're just adding on 3 zeros, right? So we're going to say 87,000 is equal to 100x. Divide by 100, divide by 100, right? That cancels out 2 of our zeros. So we would be left with 870 over 1, or 870. So x would equal 870. Okay, that basically means, yeah, 870 is 1,000%, okay, of 87. So we could also do that mentally. If you know how to do these mentally and you can solve them. I know that I'm just getting another 0 here on the end, because instead of 100%, it's 1,000%. Okay, we're just going to touch on this briefly so that you can finish your assignment, but we're going to turn the page over to, I think this is page 50. Okay, so turn to page 50, and I'll kind of write this at the top. Pretty sure. A situation here. It says at the top, for exercises 1 and 2, use the graph below. It shows the results of a poll of 440 ninth grade students. Round answers to the nearest whole number. Okay, so we're just going to look at that. So this is the graph I'm looking at right there. Okay, so it says, it looks like we have all the percentages. It says write the percent as a fraction to find how many students surveyed chose hockey as their favorite sport. Okay, we know that the total ninth graders, there's 440 ninth grade students. Okay, so that's our total number of students that were surveyed, okay, or polled, I guess. So we're going to just set that. I'm just going to show you how to set it up, and then you can cross multiply. Now remember, they're giving us a percent. So their hockey, the people that like the hockey the best, is 23.4%. So 23.4 out of 100, because that's the percent, is equal to something. We don't know how many students out of a total of 440 students. Okay, then we could cross multiply. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to set it up, not solve it. So 100x is going to equal to what? 23.4 times 440. Then solve for x. Okay, Good luck. Have fun with it. This is a concept that is so helpful to know in everyday life, and you'll use it often. So the more practice you get, the better off you'll do with that. Talk to you soon.